Yes, people. What's going on? Welcome back to United View. Welcome to another Transfer View. It's Friday. It's time for the weekend. Shout out to everybody who's got through a difficult week. You're on your last day of work, ready to just chill, watch Man United on the weekend, be stress-free, spend time with your family, etc., etc. Big win last night, Europa League. Really needed it. Really needed that for sure. And watching the highlights, actually, it's funny when you watch the highlights and see.
You're doing an Amorim. You're backtracking.
Yeah,
I did see that.
Yeah,
People were going flex. We weren't lucky. We deserved to win that game.
yeah.
We had many a chance to win that game.
Yeah. I think they're right. It was because we saw some common themes in terms of the position we put ourselves into by the end of it, and that's what Amorim's talking about, the nerve. And even when he spoke about it, he says we lost our concentration for 7 minutes. And then put ourselves. So that frustration was creeping into me in the stadium. So I do think I've overshot it a little bit with the chances that. But my point was that we had chances to kill the game, didn't, and then needed saving. So we got lucky. That's my point. So it was I get what people are saying. I was probably overly negative in the immediate aftermath of that.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones, isn't it? Because we deserve to win that game, but if you don't take your chances, then you can't complain if you don't win the game. You know what I mean? It's one of those.
And if that would have been a draw, yes, people could say, "Look, yeah, but we shouldn't have drawn that. We should have won it. That's not on Amorim. Like they didn't capitulate. They just one stupid mistake and then they didn't score. All that. I get that, but the feeling's completely different. But I agree though. People were saying it's really negative, and I got my back up a bit. I was like, but I saw we shouldn't have been in it. I was so angry in the stadium. You got to remember that reaction's done. Well, I'm there. It's literally as soon as the final whistle goes, we react. So maybe that was slightly reactionary. But we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. It is the transfer view. We've got to talk about Garnacho. We've got to talk about Rashford, Dorgu, anything else that's happening. Chelsea bidding coming as well. Has Garnacho played his last game? Really interesting atmosphere around Garnacho yesterday. A lot of positivity around him, singing his name, etc. So that's interesting. But before we get into everything, shout out to Marion. It's a severe stormy weather here in North Wales. Windy is an understatement. If you are experiencing some of Storm Owen, it's you, Owen.
I know. It's me, but a different spelling. I know.
Mad.
It's great. It's in certain parts of the UK today, particularly if you're on the coast. If you're in sort of the northwest, in Ireland, it's very bad today. In certain parts of Scotland, very much red weather warning. So yes, stay safe. Very windy for the UK, certainly. So yeah, it is. As Marion says, windy is an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. And keep safe, guys. Keep safe, as Owen just said there. Take your time. Joe Fleming says, I want 100 million from Chelsea now after last night because Garnacho was so good. 100 million player now. And Joe Fleming says, if Ineos selling for 40 to 60, they are worse than the Glazers. And again, I ain't gonna lie. Let's get into this straight away. Before we get into what Ruben said, there was a lot of. I found myself sitting there watching, going, "Oh shit, this could be his last game for us." But it doesn't feel like a player who the manager doesn't want. It didn't feel like a player who wasn't trying. It didn't feel like a player who's kind of lost his appetite. Like it feels really weird. I can't lie.
Can I tell you what? In the first, it's funny that you said that you felt that, because when me and KG were doing the match view, and those that were watching the match view will attest to this. For the first 5-10 minutes, he was on the ball quite a lot.
He's on the ball a lot, trying things.
And I'm telling you, Flex, every time he picked up the ball, KG put his head in his hands, going, I can't believe he's going to leave. He's going to leave. I can't believe he's going to leave. Because the first 10, yes, he was quite lively. He was going at people, and I was like, oh. And then, as you mentioned, then later on in the game, when he had a bit of because after that, he did go off the boil a little bit. It was quite quiet after that for the majority of the game. Obviously, hit the post later on in the second half. And around that period of time, that's when the crowd started singing his song for like 5 minutes straight.
For Bruno.
And then, like you said, man. It was like the realization set in for a lot of people of, oh wow, he might actually be going. And as you mentioned, Ruben Amorim was asked after the game about his status. He was asked whether it was Garnacho's last game at Old Trafford. He said, "I'm focused on the games, and he's here. He is a player for Manchester United and was really important for us today. Let's see the next days." pretty coy, pretty non-committal, frankly, about all of that. He said, I think he's improving in every aspect of the game. He was better today playing inside, also outside, changing positions, sometimes showing frustration. And that is really good because he wants more. He also said, I think he has the potential to be so much better in every situation of the game. What I can say is he understood what I was trying to do. I just want to help them. But in the end, it's them who do the job. But it's really that first answer.
It's non-committal, man. It's non-committal.
I was sort of, let's see. Basically, he's a Manchester United player, and he's really important for us today. But let's see, effectively.
Yeah, Kristen says that he's not leaving because he doesn't fit the system. He's leaving because the Glazers have effed our finances, and I think you have to argue it probably is more that at the moment. Like, of course, he doesn't naturally fit the system, but we can't underestimate like managers, especially someone like Ruben Amorim, who was saying he's a good coach, improving players. And it looks like he wants to improve Garnacho. It looks like Garnacho, his attitude, I know there's been a few, issues here or there. Like he's had two, I think, one under Eric on tour, and then this one under Ruben for the Manchester derby. But by and large, it looks like he's responded from both of those because he's had long periods of playing a lot of games with the right attitude. Even if the end product isn't there, he's a young player. He's getting goals, he's getting assists, he looks lively. And yes, there are bits of his game where you go, he's still way off it. Like he's, which you'd understand for a young 20-year-old. Like I don't know many 20-year-olds that are polished and are perfect now and world class. But let's be real, Ruben Amorim saying that, it's as open as anything, mate. They're just going to have a look at these bids, what come in. It's as simple as that. Because he could easily come out and just say, he's our player. He will continue to be our player past the window. He's young. We don't want to sell our best players. He could really come out, but they've told him, stay away from it. It's open. That's how it felt. Stay away from that. There's money there. There's bids there, and we have to consider. So if we strike the right deal, he'll be gone. He walked past the mix zone yesterday with some fish and chips actually after the game. So right, going on, he's just smiling, just how you doing? Fans are saying hello to him at the end, and he's waving and stuff. It obviously football's crazy. It just didn't feel that was his last game. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he'll
probably play again on Sunday, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at Old Trafford, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, look, but there's contrasting viewpoints on this. Eminem, he called into the Full-Time View last night as well, and he says he was trying to speed up the deal. If he performed poor, Chelsea and Napoli would definitely give it another think. There is a school of thought, and it's an interesting school of thought, suggesting that, well, there's been the suggestion that he's favouring a move to Chelsea. You know what I mean? And you see what I mean? This kind of thing where some people aren't happy. And my stance of it is I'm actually sort of past the part of whether I think he's good or he's not good or what I rate his ability, because I'm of the mindset of like he's 20. We don't know how good he's going to go and be. So I don't know, right? I just look at, like you said, the situation that Manchester United have found themselves in financially, where they're backed into a corner whereby this is a consideration. Previously, this wouldn't have been a consideration, not because of hyping young players, Player FC. It's the fact that financially we are so screwed that to bankroll bringing players in to fit a system for a coach we brought in mid-season to actually, improve, we have to sell a young player. And that is a massive problem. And I think if you're just focusing on Garnacho's good or he's not good, then I think you're kind of missing the bigger point, the bigger concern. And realistically, there's nothing we can do about it. We're in the position now. Like it's what we've got to do, because I know that there's get rid of Casemiro. That'll fix it. Casemiro ain't going anywhere. He's on over 300k a week, and there's nobody interested. They've thrown the bait out there. There's no biters. But when it comes to Garnacho, people are interested, and Man United are like, shit, we're so financially screwed. You've got Ineos writing to fan groups now, basically going, you have no idea what we've walked into financially.
Yeah,
like in a couple of years' time. Yeah, in a couple of years' time, PSR from that point of view, like we're heading towards disaster, basically.
And let us end up there, not protected this, but let us end up there and get PSR charges and shit. Can't buy players, riots.
And that's going on. And again, and not to absolve Ineos either, because they've contributed to that as well, because they've made mistakes over the last 12 months, financially poor mistakes too. So that Eric Ten Hag's still on the payroll, like for instance, that kind of stuff. So we now find ourselves in a position where, it could be Garnacho's last game at Old Trafford because we've got to cash in from a PSR perspective. That pure profit is available like right now, would offset a lot of issues for United. So, then once you've sort of wrapped your mind around that sort of shit show that is the financial situation at United, then you have to get into whether or not, it's a good deal. I still say, like, for me, £59 million, it just feels low. Like, and I know maybe it's not the barometer. Man United's transfer dealings are not the normal barometer to judge transfers by because we overpay. But you do just kind of think, don't you, that I go, well, if this was the other way round, and we were going to a Premier League club in January for a 20-year-old that had played consistently for 2 years, already played over 100 games for the club, homegrown
for one
player,
of the top clubs,
several years left on his contract, we would be getting charged significantly more than £59 million, wouldn't we? We would. And we're sort of, again, because financially we're desperate, we're scared that we might scare people off if we go, no, £70 million. Oh, no, I'm not interested. Oh, no,
we started high. Remember, we've reduced the asking price currently for Napoli, so we've started to play ball at a lower figure, and that's just it. It's just every which way you look at it, it goes back to what you said a couple of days ago. It's just a damning indictment of how bad we actually are in this area. And guys, I know, like, as fans, we don't want PR and just this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, read this financial stuff, guys. Like, just take the time out to just read for yourself. Like, not just like a couple of lines from the aggregators on X. Like, read these articles. They're kind of lengthy and they're number crunching and they got graphs and stuff. So I know some people are like, I can't bother with that. We'll just go to the fan channels or we'll go to aggregators to find out the gist of what's going on. But like Ridwan says, the Kieran Maguire piece. But I urge you guys just to get a better understanding of where we're at. Yeah, like properly read them, because some of the numbers you see, people, like, we hear like, oh, PSR, and we hear that it's like the buzzwords in it, or the buzz 3 letters, PSR, the 100% profit or homegrown. We hear all these catchphrases, all these buzzwords where we know also clubs have basically got to sell their youngsters. Then is that okay? That's that. But when you look at what's owed on previous transfers, how much debt has been leveraged against the club, how we're just basically on this revolving credit card of like, shit, we need a bit more, right? Go back, get some more credit, spread that out. Like, it's literally, bro, if Martin Lewis saw this, like, imagine he would say, not sustainable. You're in credit, you're using up too much credit. Like, like they say, to have good credit, you're supposed to use around 20 to 30% of your credit. But if you start using sort of 80 to 90% of your credit, you score all these types of things. I'm telling you, Martin Lewis would rip us apart. And I know it's different in football. I get it, than like, us in normal life, right? But once you read these figures, I'm telling you, I ain't trying to scaremonger. You go, hang on a minute. I've had a bigger thing that I'm thinking about. I'm being deadly serious. I've read these things from the Telegraph and the Athletic, and these different things. I know we were talking about. You said to me yesterday. I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit later, but just about how the initial set of money for Garnacho could be, used in a better way. Yeah. But even before you said that to me, I was like, I've looked at some of them finance. I'm going, bloody hell. I thought Ruben would have taken this job surely with some guarantee that, like, he's got flexibility financially. And I'm reading this and it's like, this is going to be really tight. Like, how on earth is he going to break this squad down in the time he needs to, i.e. next couple of years, and get what he needs from it? How's he going to do that? With when I'm reading this, and then that was before the Telegraph thing of like, Ineos are literally writing to the 1958 saying, unfortunately, we need fans to play. We don't really want to ask you like this, but we need it. Like, we're fucked. Sorry to say. Like, do you know what I mean?
We've walked into this shit show financially.
And then, like you said, they've added to it. Going, how on earth and that's why I worry for Ruben and going, all this, like, the players are to say what you want to crap. And I'm telling you guys, with these finances, how they are, we're not going to be able to rebuild this squad how we want. Unless you start considering some stuff like this, where it's like, you got to take that 60, 65. Summer, and again, this is just hypothetical. Summer, Cobby, all of a sudden, 56 million, she's gone thingy. all of a sudden, do you know what I mean? Toby Collier, 20 million. When what? Then what? Do you know what I mean?
It was the thing in that article from Kieran Maguire, and it's probably the best sort of phrasing that I've heard of it, is that Manchester United have been living a Champions League
Yeah.
lifestyle with a Europa League income, and it's so true. And again, it's
And now we're
so
gonna have no
true.
Europe and live in that lifestyle.
And we've been doing that. Again, we've been doing that for a decade plus, of when we have been yo-yoing in and out the Champions League, in and out the Champions League. We've never stopped spending. We've never stopped giving high contracts. We've never stopped overspending on players and what have you. And eventually, you know, to be fair, all those people for years that were saying, you know, eventually that's going to catch up with Man United. You can't keep doing that. That's not sustainable. Well, we've reached that end point, haven't we? We've reached that end point where it's not sustainable. And now, because think about it, every time we've gone out the Champions League, we're like, well, we'll be back next season. And we do get back in next season, and we think it's okay. Then we drop back out, then we go back in, we drop back out, we go back in. I'm not sure if, like, Man United ever considered the possibility of being out the Champions League, not for one, but for 2 seasons. And then in that second season, being out of Europe altogether. Like you said, we're not almost thinking enough about, like, the hit we're going to have next season of no European football at all after a Champions League less season is going to be, like, catastrophic for Manchester United. And it's at the time, because you've dropped out of Europe entirely, that you need the money for a rebuild. And like you say, and then that's when you get into, they start looking around. Those people that's their job, to try and find solutions to these kind of things. They have these meetings, sitting there, and they go, right, how can we raise funds? How can we raise money? And they'll go, well, we're going to have to sell academy players. What's in the rules? Have we got a hotel we can sell? Oh, no, we're not Chelsea, so we can't do that. You know, we've got to do whatever we can. And that's a massive, massive, massive issue. And the worst thing is like, on the pitch as well, it doesn't feel like it's getting any better either. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if, like, you go, well, you know, but it does feel like we're getting better on the pitch. You go, well, actually, we feel so far off, and the work feels so much bigger than it's ever felt at this point, that now's the time that it does need radical investment and overhaul, and we can't do it. We cannot do it. That's mad.
It's true. You can't, and it's just, again, it's not scaremonger, but it's like, it's scary times, man. It's scary times, because listen, I know that in the summer, because the recruitment has to get better as well. In the summer, we spent over 200 million, I think, didn't we? Spent a lot of money. Summer before that. But I'm telling you now, Fleck.
Yeah.
Ruben Amorim's not going to get 700 million in 3 years like Eric did.
He's not in the Champions League or anything like
100%, 100%. And we're not going to be in it this year. Well, unless we win the Europa League, which would be I can't say very unlikely, but you just, I don't know what even looks like. When I even saw that we have to get a win out there in Romania next week, or whenever that is. Yeah, next week.
Is it a point?
No, I was reading TNT thing. It said actually this apparently it's to guarantee the thing now, because they've only lost 1 game since August as well. Bucharest. So I was reading TNT, and it come up with a thing saying that they Man United need to get a win against a team basically ain't lost since August as well. Only lost twice, and they need a win as well to guarantee it going through. So it spices that up a lot. It's not just go and get a point, which I don't know why. I think maybe because they won as well. Did they win last night or something? Maybe that happened. I don't know. But whatever it is, apparently we have to win there. And if we drew, maybe would depend on other results, maybe. But I think a win would the one that guarantees it. But so you don't know what we're going to do in. But
we're more or less in that top 8 now, aren't we? We're more or less. I think a lot would have to go wrong. I mean.
Oh yeah. Even if we lost, I don't even know.
Yeah, we're on 15 points. Yeah, you've got 2 teams on 13 points. I mean, Victoria Pilsen's on 12. A lot would have to go wrong, you would think. A lot would have to go wrong.
Wait, because the ones that have got 14, oh yeah, they're all in it anyway. So the teams that could get in there, Galatasaray. Oh yeah, so Galatasaray, Bodo Glimt, the 12. Plus the goal.
Near enough. We're near enough. If we got like a point, you'd be expecting.
Probably right. To be in yeah. But yeah, I just don't know how he's going to rebuild the squad. I don't know how he's going to get the support to do it. How creative can they be? And Garnacho is a bright young player that whether you think he's that good now or not, we'll never know now, probably, at Man United. And look, if it's for the greater good of the club to get us out of this mess, like we always say, club over everyone. We've got to do what's best for the club. But this is through mismanagement. This is through bad decisions. This doesn't need to happen. But it feels like it's about to. That's for sure. It definitely feels like it's about to. So watch this space on the bids, etc., etc. I think Chelsea's one will probably land soon. We've got 243 likes, over 1,200 people watching, or just about 1,200 people watching. Make sure you guys smash a like on a video if you haven't done that already. Let's get back to the super chat. Show says, everything is Titanic with this fan base. Not everyday academy prospect is the truth. Take a step back and stop being so emotional. Another good point of way of looking at it as well. We'll be okay without these players. That's what I was just saying about the good of the club. If for a player who you think is not that great right now to get a big fee when he's relatively unproven at the top level, take it, reinvest in the squad. If that gets us 2 to 3 players for Ruben, then great. Someone had to be sacrificed. It's football. Don't get too emotional is what Show's saying. Joe Fleming says only clubs who have owners who don't put any money in, or clubs who don't have income run into trouble with PSR. So our PSR caused by the Glazers, not Ineos. Absolutely. In terms of the real reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah. The real reason we're in is, like you said, they've walked in and they've gone, fucking hell. Jesus, what's going on here? So Ryan says, all the buy Eric Ten Hag what he wants crowd. Oh, suddenly acting like he ain't part of the chaos. Get him his players feels good to say, but has consequences. Yeah, it does.
I agree with Sir Ryan on that one. We don't often we go back and forth. But how often in these transfer windows, Fleck, have I said the thing about wages or transfer fees or whatever? And I know, especially when when we bought someone, so you're quite euphoric and we're excited that someone new's coming through the door. So we don't care. Well, who gives a shit, about the transfer fee? Who gives a shit about the wage? But eventually we do. We always will. We always will care about the wage, because if they're not good enough, we can't move them on, or we overspend and we have to deal with the sins of the past. It's like the Anthony transfer is one of the Anthony and the Casemiro transfers are the two most sort of obvious shining lights for this kind of thing in the last few years anyway, where it's like panic, desperation at the end of a window. Overpay, long contract on big wages, and 2 and a bit years later, we want shot of both of them, and we can't because they're on big wages, and we're still paying off their transfer fees because they were so ridiculous, massively overpriced. Because we were desperate. We thought, oh my God, last season prior to Ten Hag coming in, well, we didn't qualify for the Champions League, so we've got to qualify for the Champions League, and we did. So, okay, cool, we've qualified for the Champions League, but it's patchwork, isn't it? It's patchwork not to fix longer term problems. Then we find ourselves like we are right now. It's not good.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, mate. Honestly, it really is. Right, the likes are on their way up. Let's get to that 500 peeps. Come on, let's get to over 300 straight away. And another super chat here from Joe. Joe's active this morning, mate, as always. And so Ryan, they're always active. Says it's not for the good of the club to sell Garnacho. It's for the good of the Glazers and to save their ass and cover their ish is what it's for. F that. Well, it is to get rid of their mistakes, but it is also for the good of the club with the position that we're in now because of them. So I'm not, the blame of why we're in this position is because of them. But if they did sell him, I get we're both right. It is to cover up their shit. But if we don't act, it's just going to get worse. There has to be some action.
Yeah. I can see, like I said, recently, of course, I've been very critical of Ineos because, like I said, they have made things worse in the last year. But they've made massive mistakes and they have made things worse. I think their perspective at the moment is, as we've seen with a lot of the cuts that they've been making, is they're looking at it like we need to reduce a lot of this spending. We need to reduce a lot of this debt. And one of the ways to do it, to be ruthless, is we're going to be forced to sell them academy players. And they know, we're already unpopular. We're just going to have to do it. We're just going to have to do it, and to try long term. Hopefully that turns Man United around because we've then suddenly got more money to spend, or we've got more flexibility to do other stuff with. But that would be one thing if they hadn't made all the mistakes over the last 12 months. It's bad timing, isn't it? Because it comes at a time which they're deeply unpopular because of the mistakes they've made. And then it has this sort of feeling of yet another possible mistake, doesn't it? And it comes at a time which we're doing shit in the league too. If we were competing for top 4 at the moment, and Garnacho wasn't featuring that much, and we sold him for 60 million. Good business. That's not bad. But we're 13th in the league and we're terrible. And it's like, okay, this is more chaos. It feels more it's yet again, it's more chaotic, isn't it? And that's the thing you associate with United is chaos.
And that's the issue, because it doesn't seem to be getting any calmer and making better decisions. So more pain. Right, let's get to Patrick Dorgu, a player that we are trying to bring in. Don't know how we're going to pay for it. Don't know how we're going to finance this, but we're going to go and get some more credit. But Patrick Dorgu, new bid.
Yes, a new bid is imminent, according to Fabrizio Romano. He posted this morning, saying United's new bid for Patrick Dorgu is now imminent. It will be over 30 million euro after the initial one was rejected. Lecce and Man United are negotiating, as Dorgu remains the top target at left wing back. Of course, a couple of days ago, Flex Romano did say it was no doubt we're going to be signing a left wing back. Dorgu, it seems for whatever reason, United have fixated. He's the one they want. Even though that there are other options out there, we could get Alvaro Fernandez back if he wants to come back, and I guess other options. But it feels like Dorgu is the person that they're after, and we've got obviously people out there in Italy actively negotiating with Lecce. Do you feel like now that this one is actually going to happen? It's got that feeling about it. It's just a case of finding the fee.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that, with Romano saying, like you say, second bid now imminent. They've done the first bid. Okay, that got rebuffed. Comes straight back in second time round pretty quickly. And they see him as a top target. They've gone straight for him. So I think that will get done. It feels like it. Obviously, don't know till it is. Can't be like, it's that's a done deal. We know all about that. But 30 million euros. What's that about? What is that, like 22 million pounds? What is that?
Yeah, so but that was the first one was rejected, so they'd probably go a little bit higher than that. You would think, maybe it'd be about 35 million euros.
And he's saying it will be over the 30 million, right? Okay,
yeah, because the first one was rejected. Yeah,
so 35 million is about 29. It's about 30 million pounds. Yeah, it's in the ballpark of young up and coming players, profile, etc., but I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I look, we said we need a left wing back, and this is the first one under Ruben that we're assuming he's going to have co-signed and said, "Yep, him." Priority. This is the first guy we've gone in for, so and we're going in for a second time. So we really want him. He's obviously a top target, if not the. So the 8 Nuris, the Kirkezes, all these types of things. Maybe they don't want to start. Try to negotiate for these type of Premier. Wolves are in a relegation battle. Not going to get 8 Nuri for less than 25 million quid, are you? You're not going to get Kirkez with Bournemouth doing what they're doing for less than 25 million. So that's the ballpark I'm talking about now. When you say what ballpark, that's the ballpark. Like these Premier League players where we want to sign Premier League proven players, which would be fantastic. Anthony Robinson, Kirkez, 8 Nuri, these guys would be great. But this is where we do have to say we can't afford 50 million for 8 Nuri right now. We can't afford.
All Elite's right. This is exactly it. It's not a high risk fee because in the grand scheme, 29 million pounds nowadays is not that much money. Yeah. But when you don't have money, it's a lot of money. So I think that's.
But we have to buy players. Otherwise, how do you change
this? Exactly.
Like, where do you start? Because I have this revolving thing about like to talk to like neutrals and friends and that, and just people in the media like, you lot so bad. Like, honestly, why would any player even want to go to you? Like, you just ruin everyone. I said, yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, maybe we should go for a thing. They go, nah, you just ruin him. So I go, well, I can't buy anyone then. I can't do anything. I can't. Where do I start when you're cussing Man United saying they're so bad? And we go, oh, he's getting this 20-year-old kid from Lecce, mate. He's in the relegation battle in Serie A. Like, what? That's how far Man United thought. What can we do? Where can we start then?
It says it says a lot. It says a lot about, because I just saw in the chat there were some people sort of going, I don't know if he's going to be that good, and I could tell that that's kind of like your mindset when you're going. Oh,
yeah, I just don't know, but I appreciate we got to start there
because the sort of because the faith has been so eroded in our transfer dealings that we just sort of go. I mean,
see when it gets here.
And again, like All Elite says, because 29 million pounds. If it's a summer window, 29 million pounds, you go, okay, guys, good. Yes, that's good. Good good amount of money, cool. But when we know that we don't have that much money and there's so much to do, like you said, it is kind of this sort of being paralyzed by where do I start? Like what do I what and you know, Ruben, to be fair, since he came in, one of the first things he said is like, I don't have a left wing back. I need a left wing back. We know that we need a left-sided fullback now into a wing back. Once again, we saw last night, Dallo struggles. Can't really do it on that side. Malacia, they're actively looking, I think, to move him out on loan because he's again, can he be the left wing back? He's still recovering from the injury. So we need options, and
he just needs games. Really, he just needs to go somewhere where he can play.
And you've got to start somewhere, don't you? You have to, and maybe
yeah.
And I already almost feel a bit bad for Dorgu in the sense
that
when he comes in, it's not going to make a massive difference overall, but it will help.
But it's the start.
It will help. Yeah, it will help.
Basically, this thing that we're doing, well, this rebuild, like it has to be layer by layer, piece by piece, especially with the situation we're in. We're not going to be able to do the whole 5 in, 5 out. Well, no, in January. That can happen in the summer, to be fair. Happened last year. But you can't do that now. So it is literally getting towards the end of this window where we've had to wait for dominoes to fall. Like Anthony, again, walked past me with 2 signed shirts and he's saying, chilling. Still hasn't gone yet. Give me a wave. Right. I thought he's a Sociedad mate. I thought he's off to Betis, sorry.
Yes,
like, what? Yeah. I thought he was off to Spit. What? Oh, you're right. Yeah, he's like, yeah, you're right. So I'm like, okay, well, you still haven't gone yet. But obviously, like Romano keeps saying, you know, what does he say? 100% signed, no worries, 100%. Or whatever.
Exchange documents. This is exchange documents. Final details.
Yeah, and this one he was an unused sub as well. So that's just, you know, you get on the bench. You know, we need numbers. Fair play. He will still go, but you know, so you're waiting for that domino to fall. I mean, Casemiro. I mean, there's nothing from Saudi, but he's done, isn't he? Like, there's nothing of nothing, mate. Like that's over. Toby Collier's now getting his minutes. He's his first start. Like, wouldn't be surprised if he gets a little extended run now. And obviously, when we do make subs as well, he's obviously going to be the first on now. Even Ericsson in the right game can still keep the ball quite well. You know,
played 10 last night, didn't he?
Yeah. Played inside 10. He ain't got as much. You know, and you know what, to Ericsson, fair play, because he's a good footballer. He's good. Like he'll always have a nice touch. He'll always be able to pass it properly with both feet, correct weight. Bless him in any foot races or duels. He doesn't usually come out on top. But in the first half, he went into a few 50-50s, won it back in the corner, you know. But if you ask him to sort of, you know, do anything more than they can't do it. But, you know, so even he can help, you know, came off the bench against Southampton, got the assist for the winner. So he's proven that, you know, in certain games he can have a little bit. But Casemiro's that's just going to be a summer thing. Rashi was still waiting. And the big one is this Garnacho thing. So, like, back to the Dorgu thing. It is harsh on him, but we have to start there. At least if you're not looking at Dallo anymore and Malacia at left wing back, it's a start. But if the kid's not good or like takes ages to settle down, then it's like it's still going to be a problem area until he. Do you know what I mean? Because he's only 20.
There's gonna be pressure on. I mean, I did like I said,
we're selling someone who's 20 and we don't know what his ceiling is. Yeah, now we're bringing in 20-year-olds.
I don't subscribe to the thing of like people, you know, he's in a relegation battle in Serie A, it means he's bad. I don't mean that at all. Mm-hmm. You know, you can get players from anywhere. We can't talk out both sides of our mouth of go find these gems, go find these players, and then when we do find someone, we don't know. Well, I don't know him, so he can't be good.
Yeah,
who knows?
No,
you know, it's just again, it goes back to the faith of Man United, because if we heard, for instance, that Brighton, Bournemouth, or even like say Forest now, if they signed Dorgu from Lecce, we'd be like, I bet he's good. I bet he's good.
Yeah.
It's because it's Manchester United.
Brighton
we don't know.
Did it?
Yes, because we're like, well, we just don't have the reputation for making good signings. So that's where it comes from. But like you said, we've got to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. In fairness, in the summer, you would say that most of our signings were good under this new, you know, ownership. Were they not? Mazraoui, that passes the test. De Ligt. You can see why maybe people had the criticism of him, but I don't think he's as bad as people made out. You know what I mean? But he's also at the same time, he's not the De Ligt that I think people thought he was going to be when he was at Ajax, and he's going to become a defender of his generation.
I think with De Ligt, if we're making an honest assessment with De Ligt, I think
he's all right.
When everything's just set up, he's competent. He won't take much risks. If he does try to overplay and take risks, like you saw, try a few long passes, he ain't really got that in the locker. Good in the air. He can anticipate. Good at in-box defending. Getting blocks off. He's immense
Threat from a
against
set
Arsenal.
piece.
Threat from a
Goals to be
set
counted.
piece. He's a decent centre half. Is what he is. So when the neutrals go, he signed up to it. Is he? Is that the? You know what I mean? Is that the raise the roof? No,
He's not
raises the bar.
Not as bad as people were making out, but he's also not as good as people were making out too.
He's just a competent.
He's all right.
Half. Do we need better across the thing? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, I know Leach makes a great cross. I know we'll talk about it in a sec. Like, great cross, good on the ball. There's still a certain stature, a certain demands that you're going to want from your centre halves. Yoro's still slight, young, first season, just getting bedded in. Harry Maguire, ironic that talk about leadership and trying to do things right, gets absolutely done underneath the ball. Dessa's absolutely done him there. But yeah, I think
we also signed him for 38 million pounds.
So it's not that bad.
That's a good fee, isn't it? You know what I mean?
If he's going to be in your squad, because we play with 3 centre halves now, so we're going to need quite a few centre halves to have in the ranks. But we need to go again in the summer. We need a couple more. Like
38 million quid for De Ligt, and is not bad. Mazraoui, of course, was cheap. Good signing. Ugarte. It's good signing. We don't have any other midfielder like him. He's good signing. He's still if he doesn't play, we miss him. He's good. And once again, certainly not as bad as people were making out when we first signed him. Holy shit, worst signing ever.
No, he's been important. He's been a warrior in certain games. What was he? 60 million though, or 50?
He was quite expensive.
He was quite expensive. I think he was like 56.
He was our most expensive one, wasn't he?
Because we waited and got the price down by 8 million. So I remember giving Ineos props for that. We got nearly 10 million off what they wanted. They wanted 6 million euros.
The initial fee was 42 million pounds. Could rise to 50.
It's not the worst, but still quite a big outlay.
Initial fee of 42. I get that for Manchester United in previous years, it would have been way higher than that. It's not terrible. Not terrible.
Yeah, but he's got limitations. The way you're going.
Oh yeah,
it's like. To be the top team, it's like the midfield balance is still quite right. He can run around and kick people. High volume fouler, gets a lot of cards. In the Warrior games, when you're on the back foot as the underdog and you need to show grit, I think he'd be fine in. But where we have to go and play a bit, you see some of his limitations. But he's, you can keep him around the squad for sure. Xerxes, like you said, I don't know if it was back to hold that again with Xerxes yesterday. It was just he didn't really have much of the ball, and then when he did, lost it a little bit. It wasn't really a game for the 9 yesterday. He didn't really. He had one bit of hold up play which was really good, where he held off the guy, brought it down, won a foul, won another foul where he put through someone's legs as well. So he did okay, but it wasn't really a game that he had much of the ball. The game kind of just passed him by.
and then Højlund came on and wrestled for a bit. That's about it. But then again, that's what I've been said for months. We need a striker. They're much of a muchness, both of them. You know what I mean? It's just we do. You see it. We can play sort of 2/3 up the pitch. We get to the edge of the box. We don't know what to do a lot of the time. We're like, And then sometimes there are good balls into the box, and where a striker should be, they're not there. Because Xerxes not a striker or Højlund's busy on the floor or wrestling.
WWE, mate. Lil Yo says, Ten Hag sexuals, your ex signed big duds. Look now. And Joe Fleming, I forgot about this actually. Dorgu plus Leon from summer could be a decent left side. And we do know that obviously Diego Leon's only 17, so it doesn't look it, but he is. The impact is the idea is to have him on loan in the States and have a look at him and see. But definitely one for the future. So if you're saying you bought a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old you've invested into, we'll wait and see. It could be a new left-hand side. Could be the new thing of our left-hand side. Matey boy says when Pep started at Barca, he sold Ronaldinho and Yaya. He went on to create the greatest team of all time. But we shouldn't sell Garnacho. Well, that's it. Pep did it, so we're now.
So you're saying
confirmed.
Garnacho is Ronaldinho, confirmed,
and Ruben is Pep, confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed.
Yeah, but I get your point. But Show will be on to you for that one. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Joe Fleming says, "P.S. Dorgu is being scouted by lots of top clubs in Europe as well." Which you have heard that he's not. Yeah, people do want him.
Did you see this, by the way, Flex? Did you see this? There does seem to be a strategy, doesn't there, from Manchester United to go around and sign young players and put them into the academy. We've seen it with Obi Martin. We've seen it with a couple of, obviously, Siku Kone. We've obviously seen it with others. There was someone from Crystal Palace, I think there was. And this one, of course, is interesting because Manchester United actually played against him, and you were there.
Yes, yeah. I was taking the piss out of his name, actually.
No,
I was like,
exactly.
I sent him to hell. Rasmus sent him to hell. Poor kid.
No, it could be coming to hell. According to Fabrizio Romano, Manchester United have made contact to Arsenal for 18-year-old Aiden Heaven. Man United are leading the race to sign him, while Eintracht Frankfurt and Barcelona have made approaches. Arsenal have also offered a new deal. A bit more on this morning. From the story yesterday, Manchester United are confident to bring him in despite Eintracht's approach and a new deal proposal from Arsenal. Reportedly, Flex, he was actually in attendance at Old Trafford last night too. So maybe that's how close the deal is getting done. So is that the strategy to get us out of the financial hole? Just sign young players. Maybe that's what it's going to be.
Obi Martin is one of the ones that has the name of, like, at that age level, he's ripping it up. Like, you know, when you go like, oh, Marcus Rashford probably wasn't supposed to come through, and what was it like when Chong was coming through, and, you know, Hannibal and this, you know, you talk, but then there's some where it's like, no, this kid was like legitimately taking the piss out of all them age groups and playing just above his age as well, because he's in the 23s now, isn't he? Cheeto, and he's only just, what is he, 18? So he's a monster at that level. So hopefully we can get him on tour. He can get some minutes. That'd be exciting. I think people would really like that, and he's working really well. So by all means, when you read about the wonder kids, he definitely seems like one. Sekou Kone, when you read up about him, very highly rated, very highly rated.
Under 20 World Cup or something like that, or something like that. And, you know, his country got some unbelievable results, and they were saying he was instrumental in that. So very
highly rated. So, and then now you're looking at this kid going to Arsenal, getting him in. It is a strategy. I think we can.
He's a centre back as well. You know, obviously we need centre backs. Maybe like you're saying, you know, you're going, and the thing is as well, someone that's 18, Lenny Orr's 18. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, and Lenny Orr's playing. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Obviously, Heaven would come to United, suddenly he'd be playing, but you'd probably be thinking like, oh, might be on the fringes. Might be on the fringes a little bit, and we play 3 centre backs. We cycle through them every other game. We change at least one centre back.
Get on the bench for a couple of games. You never know.
Maybe that's what will happen. I don't know. But like you said, it's just because I think if we'd never seen him play ever, we'd be really excited. But it's the fact that we have seen him play, and in the game, Hoyland went past him, so that means he's rubbish. I mean, no, we're going to sign a dud, which of course it doesn't mean that at all.
And no, look, Hoyland left him for dead in that game, and he's a young kid on tour. Just, you know, Arsenal having a look at him. That's what happens on tour. Harry Amas, you know, I think someone done him that. It happened. These are young kids. This is what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to go and learn about them and find out if they can play at this level. And that's not even really the level. It's friendly. So, it's interesting. Let's see. But definitely it's one to note of, like, we're clearly going down that route to get the best talent from around and be in for the biggest names and change that scouting. Because when we say, like, where's our ones coming through? Why are we not unearthing a centre back? Why are we not unearthing a left back? Why are we not unearthing a central midfielder? Just that, you know, so when you see a Collier, when you see Cobby, you know, Harry Amas, we thought maybe, but they've gone and got Diego Leon, 17, it's the same kind of vibe. Patrick Dorgu, they're starting to do it. Chido Obi Martin, Ibrahimov's doing really well. I'm surprised he hasn't been in the first team a little bit, but he's really, really highly rated as well. Shea Lacey's always talked about a lot. There's a few in there. There's a few. I think Ethan Wheatley today, I was told yesterday he's going to be going out on loan today, so look out for that news. Ethan Wheatley, don't know where, didn't say, but he's definitely going out on loan. I think that'll be confirmed today. But I don't think Ethan's probably going to cut it at us. You never know, but I doubt it. But he can start his career, which is good for him. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
And maybe, again, when we're talking about the finances earlier on, again, maybe that's...
You can sell an Ethan Wheatley in the Championship, 10 million, but you know what I mean? Just whatever it is.
You never know with the Championship. There's money in there. And also, again, maybe that's just the idea of what we've got to do. We can, if we spend less on some younger players and sort of poach them from these academies, you know, and they come through, we might save ourselves 50 million of having to go buy a player that we won't have in a couple of years anyway, because it's going to be quite tight. So maybe that's the strategy at this point: is go get your Obi Martins, go get your someone else, go get your
get them in from now,
turn them into £100 million players or whatever, and then either they do really well for United, or if they're just a bit average, then in 3 or 4 years we sell them for like 40 million for pure profit anyway. And that's the way the football's going. That's the way the football's going.
It is. Nem Green says working around both of them. Aiden, good attitude. Chidu needed a bit of work. Talent definitely there. They got potential. Some of these kids are spoiled. So Nem Green, you work around both of them? Don't know. You a coach, or is that what you're saying? Working around both of them. Aiden's good attitude. Chidu a bit. Yeah. So I don't know what you do, Nem. If you're, I don't know. I don't know how you're here able to say that. Actually, pick up to you. I don't know. Yeah. Shout out you. D Witness says, morning, gents. I feel positive. Massive improvement in performances, even versus Brighton, in my opinion. All we need now is the right profiles and we're cooking. You see, this is an interesting take then, because actually Ruben, when he was talking about the Brighton thing, we'll talk a little bit about the Rangers game last night as well, and just us in general now. You see, when we're losing these games, Ruben's having an emphasis on like being nervous in the moments, and like a couple bad decisions just they turn the game. Because we were saying at halftime, when you rang me at halftime against Brighton, okay, what did the Athletic always say? Anonymity to protect their
protect the relationships. Protect relationships.
Yeah, protect relationships. Nem Green, shoot me a DM, bro. Shoot me a DM. We'll talk. Your secret's safe for me. Shoot me a DM. Let's have a chat. But yeah, he was basically saying that, like, when I rang you at halftime, we were going, you know what? We lost an early goal, which was stupid. So when you lose an early goal, which puts basically the game plan goes out the window. Like, we're trying to work on something, you don't.
That's what Ruben's been saying. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what Ruben's been saying. And then after that, though, we calmed down. We played some decent stuff to get into their box, force a couple, calm down, get a penalty, back in the game. That's good. Then at halftime, we went, this is a 50-50 game. This is, they're not battering us. We're not battering them, but we said they will probably feel like they can win it, of course. And Harry Maguire said that in his presser. I picked up on that. He was like, that was a 50-50 game. But then when you watch against South, so Ruben's basically saying it's moments and the luck doesn't quite go your way, etc., etc. But then when you see what happened against Southampton and how we played, for large parts, like, you're just second fiddle. Like, that's not much. You're just like, Suleimane could be like Sadio Mane and take his chance. Like, we're done. The game's done against Southampton. And, Onana had to make some big saves. So is it just moments where, like, what was that last super chat? Basically, he's seeing improvements in our play, massive in performance, even against Brighton. All we need now is the right profile. Or is it more?
I saw people say last night after the Rangers game, they were actually saying, well, that's a better overall performance. And like you said, you come out of it and you go, well,
when I look back,
Maguire's missed a sitter, Garnacho's hit the post, and we had a goal unfairly ruled out, which never should have been ruled out.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a goal.
Could have and should have been should have been 3-0, 4-0 up. But once again, that's not a massive change, because we did that under Eric for a long time last season, didn't we? When it was like coulda, woulda, shoulda. We're hypothetical FC. We should have scored. We should have done this. We should have done that, and we didn't. Ugarte had a chance to. So it's a difficult one, because those are still the same issues. But I suppose in terms of home games recently, it's been better. On the Bayern Deer stuff, actually, it did well yesterday. Couldn't do anything about the goal.
Fine. No,
every other save he made, there was a couple of as well. Yeah, it was a couple of difficult crosses in the box. They tried the one that happened to him against Spurs, with the direct corner over
he dealt with
punched it out. Dealt with it, did well. And I'm telling you, he has never been more close to being Man United's number one goalkeeper, I don't think, because he's breathing down Onana's neck. Because you remember before, Onana was starting Europa League games.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't even look.
Saying rotation, like the fact that Bayern Deer started last night, I think is a big deal. And
because he's done exactly
what he
started all of the Europa League games, hasn't he?
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah. Onana started all of them.
Tell you what, mate. I caught up with Onana afterwards. He was happy as Larry. He was fine. Had a little chat with him afterwards, but he didn't seem fazed. But yeah, it was interesting, because it's almost like Ruben's also saying, I need to reward this guy. I need to show something. Like, Onana's just made a massive mistake, just killed the game on Sunday last week. And then also Bayern after Arsenal deserves a little bit more buy-in to keep him, buying in. So I don't know. If he starts a Premier League game, that's when you would, I think, go, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? But very interesting. And yeah, he was all right. Look, it was against Rangers. Largely, they didn't press. So the passes he had to make were just easy. Just keep the ball moving. Pass it to Lissandro. Pass it to Maguire. Or pass it to Delit. It's not hard. Didn't get pressed. The routine saves you have to do with fundamentals. Get your body behind the ball, knee, sharp, collect, easy. Like you said, dropped it on top of his head, punched it. Couldn't do anything about the goal. So interesting, because he's probably not the answer as well.
Well, that's the other part again, and this is when it gets into, I think, people getting confused with this, because if you praise a player, that's basically you're saying give him a 10-year contract, which is not the case. Obviously, again,
no.
In my opinion, neither is the answer. Just saying that, maybe Bayern Deers, maybe he might have a bit of a sniff here. That's not to say that he's going to be our number one goalkeeper.
Because Onana's been bad
for the next decade plus. Not at all. It's just saying that he's giving Ruben something to think about, isn't he? Of course he is. How can you not when you've got one keeper making mistakes, the other one doing heroics in cup competitions? It does make you think. It does make you wonder. But it still might be a priority position. Still, as KG mentioned before.
Yeah, agree. Shashank says, is Dorgu going to be United's Ben White signing? Well, we hope so. You know what I mean? I know he's injured at the moment, but in terms of, he was 50 million though, but still, transformational. He was at the time when he came in. I know they've kicked on a little bit more, but still a good player, Ben White. Hopefully he has a good impact. Competent footballer Ben White is. Ridwan doesn't think so. Ridwan says Ben White is 50 million and is static. I think Ben White's all right. Good player. So that in reflection to the Rangers game, I will say I did watch the highlights back and I went, actually, there was a shitload of chances. There's a shitload of chances. We really should have put. But that was why I was so frustrated, because I was like, we've battered these pretty much, and we found ourselves hanging on at the end with staring down the barrel of a draw when it should never have happened. And it's the same old, same old. That's why I was, and obviously I'm right there in the seat watching the players walk off as I'm doing it. And I'm just like, that was perfect. Just watching Maguire with the ball going over his head and looking at them. And it's like, you need Bruno to save you from this. Like, this is Rangers, mate. And I saw them make 3 subs at least, I think, due to injured players, some young kids coming on.
Yeah, they had a lot
and I'm like,
as well.
Yeah, and I'm like, any decent Premier League outfit is supposed to be mashing them up easy, dusting them down 3 or 4s. And I just got as well. Annoyed.
I don't know if you saw this in the stadium, but obviously once they scored, a lot of the Rangers fans who were in home sections almost identified themselves, and that caused quite a few problems. I think there were they were saying 39 arrests and stuff like that last night.
I've seen that, on X. Obviously, I didn't see it in the stadium, but
and it was right. It's weird. It was right next to sort of the away fans are there, and there's the sort of police or stewards line. Right next to it, there was just this big contingent of Rangers fans that were.
I did see that.
It was really strange. And I remember reading. We might have read whenever this draw was made, which is what I don't know 5-6 months ago, that they were like a whole, they're doing lots of planning for this Battle of the Britain fixture, and still again there was lots of
really
Rangers
hard
fans
to stop it though, because
sections.
Rangers fans would just come to our touts and go and get tickets. Unfortunately, that's just how the market works. It's almost might be. Sometimes obviously the club needs to do its due diligence, so you can't just join a membership, because that's quite easy to do. I get that, but also, mate, if you go outside Old Trafford saying need a ticket, the flipping touts who want that, along the Blackman, they don't go, oh, who you supporting, mate? They don't care. They just sell you the ticket. So, it's not great that way. And there were a few that, in hindsight, thinking about it, because at the edge of the media bit, there's an extended media bit, and there's a middle bit that's always they're corporate / not season tickets. They're weird. They're just ones you can just get probably through companies or this, that, and the other. I did see quite a few. When they were singing "God Save the King," I turned and I was like, "Oh, interesting." These people sitting over there near me are singing "God Save the King," but the away section's the one past that. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, interesting." So we shall see. Right, big up, guys. We got the win. That's the main thing. Roll on, Fulham. It's all about confidence, and it's all about just trying to get wins on the board. I'm not confident against Fulham. I'm not. We did play better against Rangers. I do admit that we deserve to win by more. So from that aspect, can you take some confidence? Away, we usually set up a bit better to go play. Fulham are a really good team.
Our recent record, though, Craven Cottage has been good. We won the last 2 times.
It's been all right, last 2, yeah.
With 2 late winners. It was Garnacho 2 seasons ago and Bruno last season. You know what I mean?
And not even just that. Every single game against Fulham is tight. Like, you look at the Mitrovic thing that happened, the combustion. You look at first game of this season. It's all going off.
That's the famous one. That was this, That was
all going off. Right. Marco Silva off. Willian off for conceding a pen. Mitrovic off. A score a pen. Then Luke Shaw squares it to, I think, Sabitzer, and we win the game in that one. So that was then the first game of this season. Joshua Xerxes, and we got outplayed for large parts. But then Bruno Fernandes had 2 brilliant chances missed from Leno, actually. So yeah, it's never easy. And then, like you said, the last 2 times at Craven Cottage, Garnacho just before the World Cup happened. I remember that. And then last season, Bruno, I think he ran past not Matinho. What's his name? Paulinho. And then Leno got a hand to it. Probably should have done better, but won it in the last minute. So it ain't easy. It's never easy against Fulham. That will be a tough game, and they're in good form as well. Likes of Smith Rowe, Jimenez, Harry Wilson. You never know off the bench, Adama. Iwobi's in good form.
We always struggle against Adama Traore, don't we?
Always. Yeah. So, lock in, guys. Lock in. Smash the like on the video. Trinity coming up for you later on as well. We are out of here. Take care. Smash the like on the video on the way out. Take care. Peace.